Hey, 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 welcome to another episode of Becoming a Powerhouse Brand. I feel like I'm on fire this week with recording podcast episodes because having had 2 weeks off, I'm just getting all of this inspiration and stuff that I want to share with you. So I don't know if you have read this book already, but I am currently reading a book called Get What You Want by Julie Solomon. And it's one of those books that literally from the second I started reading it, I've just been like, oh my God, this is me, or this has been me. I can totally relate to all of this. You know, one of those books that you just can't put down. And as somebody that doesn't read or has spent her entire life telling herself that I don't like reading. It's just I haven't been reading the right books because actually I've been reading some incredible books lately that I just cannot put down. And I just wanted to read something to you today from this particular book because where you're building a personal brand that is obviously very personal to you and it's a reflection of who you truly are to become magnetic for your perfect aligned people, clients, opportunities. Um, there's obviously a huge element of self-discovery and really identifying who you are and being really authentic and showing up as your true self so that you can share your truth. Obviously, my one of my previous episodes, I'm talking all about sharing your truth, like actually speaking from your heart and things that are really aligned to you that mean something to you rather than worrying about what other people think. And it's really interesting because I think for so many people that I speak to, particularly women, we do have this fear of judgment. We fear what might happen if we share our truth, if we share something that's perhaps could even be triggering to somebody else. But what can happen with that is you have all these thoughts and emotions and things that you believe in bottled up, and you never actually share your full truth, which then means you're not actually getting that initial hook from people that totally get you and agree with what your belief or thought is. And the thing with that is it can actually really hold us back from attracting those people. And then you run into this danger zone, as I call it, of being safe, of being vanilla, of sharing stuff that you think others would like to read rather than what is important to you. And this quite often stems back to, so all of our current beliefs as an adult, most of those stem back from childhood experiences. Now, as a child, I had like a really nice upbringing, like we went on holidays, had a lovely family, like all of this kind of thing. And although there were times in my childhood, like a lot of my friends would get like amazing amounts of pocket money, or they would get that amazing toy, or they would ask for something for their birthday that was like the toy that everybody wanted, and they would get it for their birthday. Whereas I came from a family that we had toys, we had experiences, we had day trips, we did have those holidays and everything, but sometimes like money was tight and we didn't get those kinds of things, or we didn't even ask for them because we knew that it was going to be too much of a stretch for my parents. Um, and I think when you're coming from that kind of upbringing and background, you have this fear of, or I personally had always had this fear of, I don't want that other person to feel uncomfortable. And throughout school, like we moved schools when I was, I want to say 7 years old. I think it was around 7 years old. So I moved schools, didn't know anybody at all. I was really, really behind in school in terms of like ability, what the new school was learning in comparison to the school that I had been at. I had loads of catching up to do. And I did get that recognition from my teacher that helped me loads at the time, which made me feel so good that actually all my hard work that I'd put in, all the effort was actually like seen and heard and valued, and that I got rewarded for that with like a certificate or whatever it was. Like that made me feel really good. And I made some amazing friends at this school. Um, but it was tough going through that change of schools at that age and being feeling like I wasn't as good as the other children. In that moment, in that year, I would never put my hand up because I didn't know the answer to things. And this is something that actually stuck with me the whole way through school, secondary school, and above, because I always had that fear of I don't know the answer, or what if that's wrong and I look stupid. Because I did have one time when I did raise my hand in a lesson to answer a question and it wasn't right. And there were a couple of other kids in the class that laughed at me. These kinds of things stay with you unless you release them right the way through into adulthood. And I had multiple experiences. So one experience I had that actually I still do need to do work on now because I didn't realize that it was still with me. And it's something that the people involved probably have no memory of whatsoever. So I'm just going to share something that happened to me when I was in secondary school. And it was, I don't know if it was my first or my second year there, but it was a mixed school. So a lot of my friends went off to single sex schools. This was a mixed school, which is all I'd ever known anyway. So it's just the same. And it got to a point where like girls liking boys, boys liking girls, and there was this one boy that I really liked. And I was in this kind of group of friends. I had really good friends there, but I wasn't in the cool group. I wasn't in the popular girls group. And there was this one boy that I was like, oh my God, really quite like him. Obviously, we're talking like I was 12 at the time, I think it was. So really young, very much like, oh yeah, he's really cute. Um, so this got through to one of the popular girls who thought it would be a really fun idea to dare this boy to ask me out, which obviously, when this boy came and approached me and said, oh, do you want to go out with me? Which at the time, going out with someone was literally you held hands or you sat next to each other in class. That was it. But anyway, this boy asked me out, and I literally felt like, oh my God, this is amazing. I think he even held my hand in the playground, and like everyone was like, oh my God, that's so cute, like all of my friends. And then I found out that this had actually been a dare. Now, luckily, I found out before like it actually ended in this really embarrassing situation in a lesson because I then actually got to play along with it as well. Long story short, like it was all fine. Obviously, I was really upset about it. But this is something that has always stuck through with me of that fear of not being liked. And so many people have this exact same fear. Now, this is like a ridiculous situation because it wasn't even like a huge deal, but for a 12-year-old girl to go through that kind of experience where a group of other girls and even the boys knew that this whole situation was a dare, it was all fake. And then we basically played it back and said that, oh, I'd been dared to say yes. And it was kind of a mutual thing. So to anybody else, they would have just thought, okay, right, fine, whatever. It's blown over. But that stuck with me for quite a long time at school. So I always had this fear of not being liked, not trusting people, the fear of looking stupid or that people didn't take me seriously. And even right the way through into my working career, into being an entrepreneur, like that fear of somebody saying no to me and feeling like they were actually judging me personally rather than like it's just not the right fit for them. And that's fine. You don't have to be the right fit for everybody, but unless you overcome fears of not being liked, you will never be showing up as your true self, your true authentic self, because you will have that underlying fear. So, this is a childhood trauma that ended up staying with me that meant that I was never in my business sharing content that was actually truly aligned to my own beliefs because I didn't ever want to necessarily like trigger somebody. I didn't want to put anything out there that other people might come come at me basically, like disagree with what I've said. Whereas now, because I have done a lot of self-development work over the last, I want to say like 6 to 9 months, possibly even a bit longer, but I've been doing loads of work on those childhood traumas, like beliefs, manifestation, mindset work, overcoming past situations, belief coding, all of this kind of stuff to do that self-development work. And it's really empowering when you actually overcome these blocks that you may not even realize are there, or you may not even realize why you have these blocks. Like, if you're somebody that's listening to this now and you think, actually, there was a piece of content that I was going to share recently that I just didn't, I talked myself out of it and I shared something that was very kind of safe. It's probably because of an underlying childhood trauma that you may have. So this is definitely something to tap into where you can actually go back and think about an experience that you had as a child that has actually stuck with you because our brains are basically like they're our hard drives, so they remember things. So although you may not, like your present self may not remember something, it's all stored in there. It's all information that is stored back in like the archives of our past, of all these emotions, experiences, things that have happened to us. It's all there in our brains, and our brains stop us from doing things that may trigger those emotions again because our brains are designed to keep us safe, which is why when you are leveling up in your business, when you are doing anything that is smashing through that glass ceiling, it feels scary, and everything in you will be trying to hold you back. So you basically, when you're running a business and looking to grow, you want to be putting your foot on the accelerator to move forward all the time. But if it's something you've never experienced, something you've never done before, or if it is something you've done or said before, but that past emotion that you may have had is telling you, your brain is telling you that it's not safe, that break is going to be coming up. So you're going to have resistance, and resistance is a sign that you need to actually just push through that and break forward, because when you do, that is where growth happens. That is where magic happens. Anyway, I'm going to get back to this book because I just want to read this section for you, because it might be that this also relates to you. If you are somebody that at school you just had this kind of fear of not being liked, and this is something that comes through with so many entrepreneurs. It is a fear of, what if somebody doesn't like what I've said? What if somebody doesn't like me? What if someone says no? All of this kind of thing. It's so important to understand. So I'm just going to read this. So, growing up, I always needed everyone to like me. I distinctly remember in second grade throwing my beloved doll in the trash while crying my eyes out because a girl in my class said dolls were for babies and made fun of me. I adored that doll, with her long hair, big smile, and purple dress with matching purse. She had it all in my eyes. But having a classmate think less of me was worse than being honest about my love for my favourite Christmas gift. I was convinced what she said about my treasure doll because she didn't like me. I think it's because of that instinct that I always wanted to assimilate, blend in, look and talk like everyone else with the hope that people would like me. I also realised that any time somebody liked me, I automatically liked them back, only because they liked me. They saw something in me that was likable. I guess since I spent so much time and effort trying to be like everyone else to blend in, that I'd forgotten to find anything about myself that I liked. Now, I just read that section and it instantly brought me back to my childhood, being back at school and just wanting to be liked. And I think even when I started my business and started going to things like networking events, that fear of, what if someone doesn't like me? What if I just don't fit in with these people? What if, what if, what if? But the thing with what ifs is they are always there to hold you back. They're always going to stop you from actually getting the success, the rewards, the benefits that you actually desire. And just reading this section there just made me really think about those experiences. Like, children are horrible to each other. They really are. And little comments from your childhood, whether it is from another child or maybe it's from an adult, and it might be something really minor. It could even be a teacher that once told you that you've done something wrong, that, oh, that's not the correct way of doing something. And it might be at the time you didn't really think it was that big a deal, but that one comment could have stuck with you, in that it could even be you end up having a fear of doing something wrong or something not being right or making like a mistake in what it is that you do. So actually, going back and journaling about past experiences, things that happened to you from when you were a child, that actually maybe at the time upset you, maybe at the time made you feel a bit triggered, all of these emotions, and actually journal about it. If you can go back that far and remember these things, this is a really important thing to actually journal about and get it out, release, because actually what will come up are situations that you maybe thought you'd forgotten about, that you thought had nothing to do with how you're currently running your business or how you're making decisions in your business, how you're creating strategies and the content you're creating and your messaging and even your offer suite and pricing. It all comes down to your brain trying to keep you safe. But the thing with our brains is they don't actually allow us to grow a lot of the time. If we always listen to those thoughts that are telling us, no, that doesn't feel right, I shouldn't say that, I shouldn't do this, it's not always right. So I would always be encouraging you to break through those barriers, because growth does not come from comfort zones. Growth doesn't come from you repeating the same thing over and over again because that's what feels safe to you. Because when you think about all of those leaders in their field, they have all broken through what their brains were telling them was safe because it was known. Because the unknown is scary. Doing something where you may very well trigger somebody, doing something where you may very well like cause somebody, like other people, to comment on posts saying that they disagree with you. But the thing you have to remember is people disagreeing with you means you're being so clear with your message and your personal beliefs that whilst there may be people that disagree with you, there will also be a hell of a lot of people that totally relate to what it is that you are saying, and they are your people. So having this fear of being judged, the only people that are going to be judging you are not your ideal client. They are not your aligned person, and they are not going to bring opportunities your way that are going to help you to grow. All they will do is hold you back, those kinds of people. So what you want to be doing is making sure that you are always showing up with your truth and just working on past experiences. I think is such an important thing. And actually, like if you go back to one of the earlier episodes with Sharice Bizram, so Sharice specializes in overcoming childhood traumas and identifying the energy that you're actually putting out there, and actually looking at where perhaps in the past or even now that you might actually be presenting yourself with a kind of toxic energy that's actually really damaging your growth and the ability to shine with your business. So actually working on childhood traumas that you may have had. And trauma, when I talk about trauma, it's not necessarily a traumatic thing and that something terrible has happened. Trauma can be something very minor, that as a baby you were left to cry over a certain situation. It could be for a split second you couldn't find your parent. It could be for like a comment that somebody made at school. Like these are all things that as a child are traumatic, and they actually form beliefs and things, memories in our brains that will stay with us. So it's really important to actually journal, to spend some time working on your past, because although you are branding for the future you, sometimes past experiences and things that happen to you can actually delay you getting to your next level self. They can actually cause blocks and stop you from growing. So actually understanding where these beliefs, where these blocks are coming from can help you to then release those thoughts that you have had, perhaps even most of your life or your entire life. They allow you to release that so you can move forward with confidence. And that is what building a magnetic personal brand is all about. It's about confidence. It's about showing up as your true, authentic self, being super confident, super clear in who you are, what you're all about, and your beliefs, because that is what is going to attract those dream clients, opportunities, and people that are going to be your biggest cheerleaders. So a bit of a deep episode today, and obviously sharing that experience that I had as a child. Like I don't actually think I've shared that with anybody. I'm not even sure I've shared that with my own parents, but it's a thing that came up for me when reading this book, that I was like, oh my God, that is an experience I had that I'd actually forgotten about, but obviously hadn't, because it's still there in my mind. And it's thinking about all of these different things, because they can be the very reason as to why you're perhaps not growing at the speed that you want to be growing at. So I hope this has helped you today. I would love to know if you've listened to this and it's helped you to realize actually you did have some kind of past trauma, or something has perhaps happened to you in the past that you've now just realized from this one episode that, oh my God, it is that is where this belief comes from. I would love to know. So do drop me a DM on Instagram. You can find me at Jackie Laws. Yeah, I would just really love to know if this episode has helped you. Please do leave me a review and a comment in the podcast. I would love to know your feedback. But yeah, I hope this has helped you today, and I cannot wait to come back for another episode of Becoming a Powerhouse Brand. Hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you soon. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode. If you're ready to unlock the secrets of building your own personal brand, head over to my website, baileyandrue.com, where you can grab my free Brand Brilliance Blueprint today. It's your roadmap to success in the world of branding. And hey, let's stay connected beyond the podcast. Follow me on Instagram at baileyandrue for daily inspiration, behind the scenes insights, and exclusive content to fuel your brand journey. See you there.